Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session of Spokane Public Schools Keep Learning series for literacy. Today's lesson is for all second graders, but of course, any interested student may join us. Welcome to our virtual classroom. My name is Peggy Eckloff, and I'm a teacher at Whitman Elementary in Spokane Schools, and I will be your teacher for this lesson. If you didn't see our previous lessons, you can find them on the KSPS website. However, you can still tune into this lesson today, even if you haven't seen the other lessons. Today, we will be doing a close reading, which is where we go back and look at a particular section of a book with a particular focus. For today's lesson, you will need 2 sheets of paper and a writing utensil. I'll pause for about 10 seconds while you gather those materials. Do that now. Now that you have your materials, let's think about our focus for today's lesson. When we go back and do our close read today, the thing that we'll be looking for is, did the girl, the main character in this story, show perseverance? Do you know that word perseverance? Let's play around with that word before we do our reading today so that we can help organize our thinking and know how to use that word. Go ahead and grab one of those sheets of paper and whatever it is that you're going to be writing with, and let's play around with that word now. So on your sheet of paper, I like to go ahead and add what I call a huge addition sign to make 4 boxes. So your sheet doesn't have to look as fancy as this one. But you can do that really easily by drawing, and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to move this document up so I can do that now by just drawing a huge multiplication sign, or excuse me, a huge addition sign. So I'm going to make a long vertical line down and a horizontal line across and divide my paper into 4 sections. I have what I call the dictionary definition in the first box. Don't worry about copying this. Let's just read it together now, okay? So perseverance, let's read it together. The continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. In the second box, we have what's called a graphic, and I've included a picture of what looks like a person rolling a giant rock up looks like a pretty steep hill. In fact, I can't even see the top of the hill. So I know that it would take a lot of perseverance to complete this task. You can add your own picture or graphic there to help you remember what the word means to you. Down in the third box, I put what's called the student definition, and it's really just a definition that's in more kid-friendly or student-friendly words, okay? So let's do that now. Let's go ahead and add that. Okay, so our kid-friendly definition is to, and I don't want that underlined, so let me try that again. To keep going or trying even when it's hard. So perseverance means to keep trying something or to keep doing something even when it's really hard. And sometimes it's even when we fail, but we keep trying. So the last box says sentence, and that's where we include a sentence using that word perseverance to help us remember what it means. So I'm going to add this sentence now. And I don't want it underlined, so I'm going to take that off again. I have to look at my paper here. I don't want that. It took planning and perseverance for the girl to build the most magnificent thing. And I see I've got a typo here, so I'm going to correct that now. Let's reread that. It took planning and perseverance for the girl to build the most magnificent thing. So now that we've played around with that word perseverance, and we have a pretty good idea of what it means, let's go back and do our reading now. I will completely read the text the first time, and then we'll go back and do the close reading. Let's do that now. The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole wide world. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things, Han makes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it, and she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures, while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she is finished, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around one side. Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake. It doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or good. It isn't even kind of sort of okay. It's all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and tweaks and fastens. She fixes and straightens and studies. She tries all different ways to make it better. She makes it square. She makes it round. She gives it legs. She adds antennae. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells of stinky cheese, but none of them are magnificent. Her hard work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. She gets mad. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch! The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain, and she explodes. It is not her finest moment. I can't do it, she says. I quit. Her assistant suggests that they go for a walk. It's not much help at first, but before long, she starts to feel different. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel to seat ratio of the next. There are all sorts of parts that she likes. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. This character says, "This one's all wet." The lady says, "This will stop that leak." The gentleman says, "This is the perfect thing to ward off bears." The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left, and it's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. It really is the most magnificent thing. So now I'm going to take us to the page in the text where we're going to go back and do a close reading. Let's do that now. So I've taken us back to this page that's near the end of the story, and our focus today is to think about, did the girl persevere? So be thinking about that as I reread this page. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. So what are you thinking? Did the girl show perseverance? I think she did. Let's look at what she's doing. She's trying again. She's calm, she's focused, and she's also thinking about all the things that she did right the first time. She's taking all the parts of all of her best thinking and putting it together. At this point in the story, we don't even know if she's going to be able to build the most magnificent thing. But that's not the part that matters. It's not the end result that counts. The thing that we're looking at today is, did she keep trying? Did she keep going? And I think this part in the text is really good evidence for the fact that she did show perseverance. That's going to take us to our writing today. So go ahead and grab that second sheet of paper, and we'll create a graphic organizer to organize our thinking now. Before we create our graphic organizer today, I wanted to take us back to the graphic organizer that we created together in our previous lesson. In our previous lesson, we discussed how authors use events in stories to show how a character's feelings or reactions can change. So we created this T-chart with events on one side and feelings on the other. And some of the events that we looked at was one at the beginning of the story, where I said she has an idea. And then we discussed how at the beginning of the story, when she has this idea to make the most magnificent thing, she's feeling pretty confident. Because in our text, we saw that she was planning, she was getting the materials together, she looked pretty confident, she was even saying that it was easy peasy. Another event that we looked at was where she had created mini models. And after she had created those mini models and still was not able to create the most magnificent thing, she was pretty mad. So today in our writing, I want us to make a more personal connection. I want us to think about a time that we were able to show perseverance. So on your paper, let's go ahead and write those two things because we're going to connect them to an event and then to the feelings that we were having. So on the first side, I want you to write that word event, E-V-E-N-T. And I'm going to slide this down a little bit. And on the second side, let's write the word feelings. F-E-E-L-I-N-G-S. And then what I want us to do is I want us to draw that giant capital T to make this graphic organizer. So I just do a long horizontal line across and a long vertical line down to make what we call a T-graph. Okay, let's be thinking about an event in which we showed perseverance. So the event that I'm thinking of right away is when my boss asked me to think about doing these virtual lessons. So I'm going to put here, and thank you for being patient as I figure out how to go back and forth from drawing to typing. I'm going to write video lessons because that was my event. And then over here, I'm going to write that I was nervous, my stomach hurt, I wasn't sure that I could learn all of the technology that I would need. Those were some of the things that I was feeling. So what I want you to do today is think about an event where you showed perseverance. In just a second, I'm going to share with you the writing that I did. So here's my writing about doing a video lesson that I wanted to share with you today. So one time I showed perseverance was when I was asked to do a video lesson. All good writers go back and reread, so I'm going to do that now. One time I showed perseverance was when I was asked to do a video lesson. So now I see on my graphic organizer that I've included those words nervous and that my stomach hurt, so I'm going to include that in my writing now. I was nervous and my stomach hurt. I'm going to reread that. I was nervous and my stomach hurt. I still want to say something about perseverance, so I'm going to add that now. I kept practicing reading to my computer until I finally felt confident to record. Now I'm going to reread the whole thing. One time I showed perseverance was when I was asked to do a video lesson. I was nervous and my stomach hurt. I kept practicing reading to my computer until I finally felt confident to record. Now your task is to write about a time that you've shown perseverance. Thank you, second graders, for joining us today. Hang in there, stay safe, and keep practicing perseverance. I'll see you next time.